Ready? Okay. Good morning, members of the media. Thank you for coming out. We're doing this media conference on a Thursday. Normally we do it on a Sunday morning, but we thought we would do it during the week because we have a number of activities this weekend. Our Siparia regional team is having a fundraiser line on Sunday down in Point Fortin, so a number of us are committed to be down in Point Fortin on Sunday, and I also have another media commitment on Sunday morning. So we thought we would go this morning to simply report on the decision that was taken at our last Activist Council meeting, which was the Sunday before Carnival, well, not Carnival Sunday, but the week before that, which I think was the 16th of February. So I want to give a report of some of the decisions that we took on that very important Activist Council meeting. With me this morning is Deputy Political Leader, Ms. Radhika Gaulbans, and we have one of our candidates from the local government elections for the Marbella East seat, Sion, who's behind me on my right, and one of our activist members, Nigel, who is on to the back to my left. So, at our activist meeting, and you realize that we met, a week before Carnival, which is an indication of how serious the MSJ is about our politics and our political work. And so we had a very good Activist Council meeting, and the Activist Council received recommendations from the party's executive, which had met a few days before that, and on the basis of recommendations of the executive, and also on the basis of very extensive discussions at that Activist Council meeting. And we have decided that the MSJ will be, one of the decisions, definitely contesting the general elections 2020, and that our nomination process is open. So we are publicly inviting members of the MSJ and others who may wish to stand as a candidate for the MSJ in the upcoming general elections to offer themselves. Nomination forms will be available on our website, and they can download it that way, or they could come to our party office here in San Fernando to get a nomination form, or they could get it from any one of our activist teams, our regional teams in Diego Martin, in Sawa Lamantil, in San Fernando, and Deep South, Point Fortin, Siparia area, and so on. So that was one important decision that we took, that nominations be open. In fact, we opened the nominations on that day of the activist meeting, the 16th of February, and that was in keeping with a target that we had set at our January meeting. The Central Executive has been meeting subsequent to Carnival. We had a very long meeting on Sunday last, and in fact we received reports from a number of our areas where the recommendations have been made as to which seats we ought to contest and so on, so that our teams in the different areas are gearing up and are recommending which are the seats that we should contest. That process is not yet complete. Of course, when we get our nominations in as well, that will help to close the loop. So we wanted to make that announcement. We are aware that other political parties, of course, the UNC identified that they have closed their nomination exercise. The PNM recently said that theirs is open for the rest of this month, and we thought that the country should know and the public should know that the MSJ's nomination process for candidates for general elections is underway, is open, and we are actively now identifying candidates for the upcoming general elections. That is the very short statement that we want to make, and of course we are open to questions from members of the media.
Okay. I wanted to ask, you say that nominations are open and all of that, but you haven't decided which seats that you want to contest. Is there thinking that perhaps, given the whole political landscape, if you will, that perhaps it might be more strategic to concentrate your efforts in the marginals as opposed to the hardcore PNM or UNC constituencies?
No, we have not come to any such conclusion. As you know, we, in the local government elections, we contested electoral districts which were both in so-called hardcore UNC and in hardcore PNM areas. And we contested some that were in so-called marginal areas as well. So it is not the issue of marginal seats or hardcore seats for one of the two traditional parties is not necessarily a factor in our deciding which seats we'll be contesting.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask, are you all contesting by yourselves, or are you all part of the discussions of Mr. Pandey's having with this coalition or region?
Right. I did have one or two telephone conversations with Mr. Pandey. We have not attended any of the meetings that he has convened, but we are aware of what is taking place, and we have been in conversation with a number of other leaders of other political parties, but there's been no determination, as far as I'm aware, as to the Pandey initiative, where that is going, nor have we come to any conclusion about any arrangements with any other political parties.
Right. Yeah. I asked that question basically in the context of whether the decision as to which seats the MSJ contest would be done as, whether you're contesting it as an independent entity or as part of an arrangement with other entities, because some people might feel that perhaps when you're in a group, it might make more sense for certain parties to get, we were all contesting under the same umbrella, but everybody will be voting for that particular person or whatever. So is
yes.
The case, right, in those cases, you might say, well, all right, well, perhaps the COP might be better over here, and maybe the MSJ would be better over here, and then everybody throws their support behind these areas, as opposed to, say, contesting as an independent entity,
right,
where you're not really figuring, you're not really strong by anybody else's, but those decisions haven't been made.
No decision has been made. Obviously, as I said, conversations are taking place all the time. People are making decisions on their own, both as individuals and as well as political parties, and conversations are taking place. Okay. But as I said, we were not part of the Pandey discussions, although I was aware of it, and I did have a telephone conversation or two with Mr. Pandey. Okay. Yes?
Right. Have you yourself considered whether you might offer yourself as a candidate?
Well, the tradition is that if a political party is contesting the general elections, then the leader of the party will contest as well. So that is the tradition. An announcement at the appropriate time will be made with respect to what my own situation will be. Yes? No.
The other thing I wanted to ask, are you still a bit concerned at this stage that campaign finance legislation which is something which is managed about by the current government before they came into office, and up to now as we are getting closer and closer to the election is not imminent, but you still have no sign of that yet. And do you think that in the absence of, if nothing is actually put in place before the Prime Minister calls an election date, that this could put parties like yourselves at a bit of a disadvantage over the bigger parties who might draw in more finance and maybe even from some questionable sources?
Well, we are absolutely certain that those parties do get large amounts of money, and we are absolutely certain that those parties also get it from questionable sources historically. So that has been the history. It is not only about having legislation to deal with political campaigns, it really has to be party financing law to ensure that political parties are not only registered with the EBC for purposes of conducting the election by way of registering your symbol, but also are registered like a company, for example, is registered, or a trade union is registered, or now an NGO or not-for-profit organization has to be registered, which registration would then be supervised by an independent body to ensure that all political parties have annual audited financial statements. So it is, those audited financial statements wouldn't only cover the period of an election campaign, but will cover a longer period, an entire year, and consistently years going forward. That's very important, because parties could then garner all of their money 6 months before an election, and then only have to account, if it is campaign finance only, account only during the period of the campaign. And it's not only about parties having to be regulated, it is also requiring government advertisements placed by government ministries and state enterprises and so on. All those things ought to be banned during an election campaign, because in effect they're campaigning using taxpayers' money, which is wrong. So there are many aspects of regulating and controlling and ensuring that political parties are not being used by investors, political investors, who put money into a party and then get contracts thereafter. So we need full transparency and disclosure as well for contributions. So we are very strong on that. We doubt that legislation will get passed before the end of this parliamentary term, before the coming elections. And we are also very concerned as to why the public procurement legislation is not fully proclaimed and implemented. Because that is another area. With the absence of public procurement legislation being fully in place, you can get contracts being awarded, and then those contracts facilitating the financing of party in power.
One final thing for me is different topic. At one of the previous press conferences that you had, you expressed concern as to how the country's preparedness to deal with coronavirus. And now, since that time when you made those statements, and you would have undoubtedly seen these statements coming from the Minister of Health, and we do understand that the Trade Minister is supposed to be meeting with the Chamber, the TT Chamber, and the TTMA regarding to assess, like, say, whether local businesses, the kind of impact it could have. So, from your last statement to now, are you at all satisfied that the safeguards that are being put in place, or that there are enough safeguards in place to deal with this threat?
Not totally. So that, for example, it's not enough for the Minister of Trade to meet with the TTMA or the Business Organization, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce or whoever. That's not sufficient. There needs to be a discussion with all the stakeholders. The trade unions are central to that, because the trade unions have collective agreements and they represent workers and so on. So that you need to meet with all, and there needs to be a clear national policy as to how employers will deal with persons who may have the symptoms. In other countries, for example, large corporations are saying to their employees, stay at home, work from home. How many of the workers in Trinidad and Tobago, given the structure of organizations, can in fact work from home? So there's a whole set of conversations that have to happen, and serious dialogue with respect to this particular issue. There's the issue of the impact on the economy, which we raised at our last press conference. There needs to be a national dialogue, serious discussion in the Parliament and outside of the Parliament as to what the impact of the coronavirus is having on our economy, with falling oil prices, falling gas prices, falling methanol and ammonia prices, and so on. Trade being affected. I saw in one of the newspapers today that the used car dealers are concerned about the supply of vehicles. Other people are looking at the supply chain, inputs to manufacturing. All of these things require a very serious discussion, and there has been no leadership by the government on those questions. We raised it more than a week ago, and there's been no serious response as yet. They're going about it in a ad hoc, Vicky-Vi way, rather than dealing with it in a very holistic manner. And we're still not satisfied as to whether there is a single message going out to people as to what they ought to do if they are showing signs, symptoms of the virus. They may not have it, they may have flu, other kinds of flu or cold, but what is the single message as to what a person ought to do if they are having the signs of the virus? Do they go to a public health institution? Do they go to a private health institution or private doctor? Do they stay at home? Where is the testing going to be done? How is it going to be done? How do we ensure that there's no confusion about these things? There needs to be proper, clear messaging. We call for the use of social media, using animation and short videos to get the word out, so not everybody reads newspapers, looks at television and so on, could get it on their phone. We haven't seen any of those kinds of multimedia education tools being put into effect as yet. So we were not trying to create confusion or panic. We were trying to put forward specific ideas and proposals that would assist in ensuring that that the country is ready for this thing. It's not just about incubation units and those things like that. We have to think about an ordinary person's life. What would they do in a particular circumstance and so on, and walk them through it before, so that when it happens, they will understand what they have to do in the event that they think they have the virus or they have symptoms of the virus. Yeah? Okay? All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right. So,